Welcome to Finding Joy Live. I am so happy to have with me today Joanne Riley, an incredible interior designer and my sister. And she's here today to talk to us about creating comfort through interior design. So, this can be a real game changer for you. Welcome, Joanne.
I am so happy to be here with one of my favorite all-time people, my soul sister and real sister.
There you go. That's
Thanks for
right.
having
That's
me.
really nice. Thank you so much. So I'm really glad that you're here and that we're talking about this for two reasons. One is we have an entire uh, in-depth, almost an hour-long podcast coming out tomorrow on this very topic of how to make your house really into a home. And today we get to go into kind of a nuance of that. And so I'd love to start with um, what comfort means when it comes to interior design.
Oh, hmm. Well, it's definitely all about the soul's comfort because what's comfort for you may not be comfort for me. And even at different moments in our times in our lives, different actually moments in the day or whatever, there's different levels of comfort. But there's always everybody has sort of a basic comfort level that they like. Maybe it's a style, maybe it's the amount of light, maybe it's the temperatures, whatever. So you really have to look at yourself and read that for yourself, which is sometimes harder
Mm.
than sounds kind of easy. Oh, I know what is comfortable, my old goofy shoes, but then it's like not all the time.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And also, I loved that everything you were just saying. I had an ability to think back to a time when I thought, oh, it's too cold in the room, it's too warm in the room. Why is it different in the winter than it is in the summer, even though the temperature says the same thing? And,
I
all of
always think
those
about
kinds
that.
of things. Yes, exactly, exactly, exactly. Talk about construction methods. Um, but so all those things are super tangible for us, which is great. Um, but it goes a little deeper than that, doesn't it? I mean, uh, even sometimes we can have little reminders of the things we log. So in my work, we talk a lot about what are you logging, right? What are you putting in the remember category? And our brains are hardwired to put the stuff that is not pleasant in there, right? So they're supposed to keep us alive. That's the whole deal with the brain. However, it doesn't make for a very good life, right? It's all right if you're a cat and you sleep 28 hours a day, but not so great if you're a human and you have all these opportunities to log in the things that aren't pleasant and you don't bother with anything that is pleasant. So, what are we logging and how do we replicate that logging or remind ourselves, put symbols of comfort in our lives?
I love symbols. Well, I think that's why I'm lucky to be an interior designer because I always said it's not like when you're thinking of your space, I maybe you think of the things that you don't like, but that's a good thing. That when you're going to design a space, having your list of no's or list of what your significant other wants and you definitely don't or whatever, that's a really good thing because then we have a starting place, and then often we don't know what really will make us thrive and what really will make us do whatever it is we want to do in the space. Be comfortable, be joyful, have entertainment, do whatever it is in the space. So that's where a professional can come in or research and find out. There's so many things available. We all know everything has a vibration. So we were just talking about your beautiful lamp behind you before we started, and maybe you want to tell the story of how we got the lamp. And for me, it brings me so much joy to see the lamp because I know what it is and I know how um, important the symbol is. That's a great symbol. And why don't you say how we got it?
Yeah.
And
So the symbol itself is beautiful and encompasses a lot of wonderful, peaceful, compassionate feelings, right? So as a general symbol, like if you gave it to an archaeologist, but but for me, there was a whole process involved with this lamp. So I went. First of all, I had a friend invite me not long after Tim died, invite me out to stay in her place, in a beautiful place by the ocean. It was wonderful. And she liked to tag sail. And it's not something I do. It's not something I like. It's just not part of my life. You know, it's fine. I don't mind it or anything. But so I was like, okay, sure. Because you're kind of loopy. And you're like, let's see what happens. And we go out. We have so much fun. We find it. The people were amazing. I loved that there was a whole family. The father was involved, and then the kids come along, and they're like, "Oh, we have the shades," and they had the whole game going on there, right? We had lots of amazing interaction with people, really juicy, really wonderful, and one of those interactions that helps you to believe in the goodness of people, right? That people are really good and they're really nice to be around. All of that was in it, right? And then there's my friend who's driving me around and having this whole interaction. She's stuffing it in her car. I'm like, oh, this is so amazing, right? And so I buy 4 of them for Joanne, because I think this is what she would want. And so I call her up with something about short pictures, right? So we have that whole interaction. I get to log that as a really fun interaction, right? Because there's a whole thing about like you get to be valuable to your big sister, you get to be involved in interior decorating, you don't kind of know what you're doing, so you get the thrill of following impulse and intuition, even when you don't know why you're going in that direction, right?
Everybody take note. This is what you do in life so that when you get the designer, she can deal with the stuff that you have. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Because there are definitely things that since you've come to my place, you said to us, well, what about this? And I've said, oh, I never liked it. And yet I moved it here. I took the time and money to take it, 1,500 miles away.
We all do. We got the baggage, but it looks like a dresser. Oh, it's practical, but you really hate it. It's like, no, life's too short now. We're all like, ponying up and going, exactly right. No, this is like my life now. We don't have to carry the baggage if we don't want to. Sometimes we still want to carry it along a little bit. Tell them, what is the lamp? Is it Kuan Yin?
It's Kuan Yin, yeah. It's Kuan Yin. Yeah. So she's a symbol of compassion, and she's a whole lot involved in her.
Right. And so for me, Kuan Yin,
you went to China.
For me, Kuan Yin, I went to the island that represents her, and I studied feng shui there for a time, and it represented so much about peace, beauty, and life, and living life. And it was at such a transition time for you that I felt like I was on part of your journey. And I also have some of those lamps that I keep in my house. And they're like from the 20s. We had to get them rewired and new shades and new everything so that they didn't fall apart.
Yeah, that was the other piece of it, is that I got them for you, and then you gave some of them to me, and like suddenly it's a part of our journey together. And all of that for me was just about, how can I enjoy this moment? And then being willing to not get resentments that people get when they do the things that we just did. There are very common resentments people carry around, like, I gave that to her as a present, and now she's giving it back to me, right? So there are all sorts of
you have to give them 4 if you want any back.
No, but there's like all sorts of resentments that people can bring in along their path, right? Yeah. And I was like, I still have, this is like an amazing thing. I never thought I'd get to have them. They're so beautiful. I never thought I'd have a space for them, right? So it's like one juicy moment after the next.
I think that's, our family is like that. We like interiors, furniture, and stuff, and real estate. And so that's something we have in common. Now, maybe not everybody has that in common, but oftentimes I find art, like a lot of my clients travel and they'll buy a piece. It could be just a small piece, but we literally can design the whole house or a room or anything from it. Not like we literally take the little colors or take the design style or anything. It's just something that brings them so much joy that you have to find a way to translate that into 3 dimension, into life, and ask the questions to get to the other next step of how we want to live, and what do we like about that? Or sometimes there's people collect stones, literally rocks or stones or quartz or whatever, real stones, or
Like
art or
this,
plates. Yes, yes,
like
those
this,
can be
but also
pivotal
I
moments of joy. And
I
how do
have
we make those look
pebbles.
good without making the cleaning lady mad because she has to clean around them?
Also, but
And
also I have pebbles. I have like things that are just pebbles, right?
yeah,
So,
so all these are
yeah.
these everything carries a vibration. That's first and foremost, that we all know it, but I'm not sure we remember it when it comes to the big stuff. Then we go, okay, well, we'll go to Wayfair. It's like, yeah, I'm not
Yeah.
sure that you have to make sure you're translating, and I'm not against that. I'm not sure if you're translating your real vibration of the things that you want. And then the other thing about design and a home and bringing joy and comfort to it is it's very three-dimensional. Everything literally plays off each other in a space. So it's not, it could be one particular item that makes the room feel off. It could be that one particular item is a quarter inch off. They always make fun of us designers because we go like, move that a quarter inch and move that a quarter inch. And truthfully, our installers, they don't mind because they know when they're finished moving everything a quarter of an inch, it feels different, as opposed to maybe it doesn't look different, but they get the je ne sais quoi. They get that. Wow, this really feels good. So that's a whole other thing. So we have particular items like our beautiful Kwanlin lamps that are fantastic. We have art. I have those Turkish plates that I got a really long time ago. I have a piece of art behind me there. And then the top one is from France, and that's I bought that at that famous flea market that I can't remember the name of. And all of them bring me joy. They bring me real joy and real inspiration of times of travel and wonder and what's going to happen next. And all those things they're really important when you're designing your home. Like if you have things that you really like, even if you go, oh, I don't know if I want it outside here. If they're on the inside of your closet, show your designer, because it changes it. And then sometimes like people have things that I can frame or make into something different, or make into actual piece of furniture. We do a lot of custom furniture, a lot of built-ins, and we can take that and make it into something that's really amazing and that they love. And we also work with artists. Like one of my favorite things to do is to make a custom mosaic. For a lot of times we do them in kitchens, either on the backsplash or above the stove or something like that. Although we can do them anywhere, by fountains or anything. And when you work with an artist and the client talks to them and that creativity comes through, they translate the client's essence and make something like magnificent out of it. So that's really fun to do too. If say maybe you haven't traveled much, or you don't, you have enough stuff in your other houses like that, and you want something completely new. We just did this. One of my clients, they didn't want to duplicate any of their other houses, so we just went with everything from artisans to artists, and it doesn't all have to be custom or expensive at all. Oftentimes we do better when we work with certain artists, and we can incorporate all the essence of what's coming next, what's new. A lot of my clients are going for the next generation. What legacy are we leaving them? What do we want it to look like? And that's a lot of fun. It's a lot of hope. It's a lot of joy, and it brings a lot of comfort when they all come over.
I love that. You're really bringing in a lot about co-creation and how there's extra joy that can come through that co-creation. So a lot of times people they want to just make their own thing. They're like, I am going to make this great by myself. And they're reaching for something that is not, that they can't get to. So because we do best when we're co-creating, right? When we're really
Right.
like when we bring in the next element, oh, it's unpredictable, and we have to be open, right? There are other pieces that make it harder, but it really brings up for me. First of all, the outcome of that can be much more gratifying than anything we could have come up with on our own, and it really brings up for me the proper place for solitude.
I was just going to say, like, I kind of agree with the co-creation is design at its best, for sure, for sure. We have like teams of things that we do. However, say if you're a young person, I'm really lucky. A lot of my clients' kids get to have cool rooms, and we design beds and hideaways and escapes and everything for them. But say you never did, say you never got to design one space on your own, then for you to like take your one room or your entire house, whatever it is, and do it yourself, I think that like there could be merit in that. And then as you change and you grow, that's when you can incorporate the other people, because you have to have the solid you know.
So this, just so you know, is where your microphone is.
Oh, I
So
apologize.
yeah, it's all right. So I want to say that for me, I am a sketcher. So I like to get things kind of in the right place or order or something, and I go like, yeah, this is kind of what I want. But then I'm not I'm not good at the details. So then that next step is a great place for co-creation with me, a place to really collaborate with somebody. Excellent. And in fact, often the things don't even end up in the same place as where I put them. But the concepts of this is what I'm thinking. I'm thinking I'm going to do this over here and I'm going to do that over there. Then when I'm working with a designer, I can say, these are the things that are important to me. These are important parts of my life. I do this. I think this. I want a space to, to meditate. I want a space where I can run around and make as much noise as possible and not disturb the rest of my household or whatever that is. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I that's what I think I love most about being a designer is the co-creation with my clients. And then who can I bring in to our team? Because it's team us, and then we bring other people in, and we decide how they're going to fit in. I love that.
Oh, that's great. That is so great. That's great. Well, let's talk a little bit more about some of the basics that people reach for when they're looking for comfort. Is there a certain, I don't know, palette or type of feel to furniture? Like it's got to be comfy or it's got to be is there something kind of in general that people reach for to go for comfort?
Well, I think in the past few years there's been so much pervasive fear and a really changing time and stuff. So definitely a comfort level has changed, and we notice it even in our clothes. Like we could just be having our jeans on the bottom, but our top looks good. And the same with your house. Like I think there's a different casualness that houses have that they might not have had it as much before. And we always did a lot with comforters, but now like there's all kinds of comforters. You can zip up in a comforter, you can do all kinds of stuff, and you got to have a comfy place to put a comforter, like a sectional. I've always been a huge fan of sectionals, but I think sectionals have really taken their place because different people can lounge in them. You can be together, you could be at different ends, you can do a lot with that. I think practicality and really usefulness has been even more important than ever. I think interior design is definitely having its day. I've been in the industry for more than 30 years, and now it's completely popular and people are more educated. It's a very exciting time. People are more educated. There's more stuff available to them. There's more stuff available to us, and you can really design whatever interior you want. And I think like there's not so much like, oh, you have to have this color. It's, as a designer, I don't think we ever tried to follow the rules that much or the trends. However, if there's a lot of it out there, then you end up using it no matter what. But now I think the field is really open with the spoonful. You can make your own fabrics, and you can make them in different
Yes.
colors, and you can do everything. Everything can be done custom. So
I
when you
love that
can
you
do,
mentioned spoonful because I've used it for different things, and I feel like it's a resource not too many people know about, and it's a way for you to kind of get your ideas out in the world. So it's a custom print house for fabric, but you
And
can do
wallpaper.
anything with the fabric. Oh, and wallpaper.
And
Okay.
wallpaper. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
oh, so
yeah.
cool, so
So
cool.
so yeah, you can just make your own. You can do easily. We could always do custom things, but now it's simple and easy, and anyone could do it. If you have an idea, or your kid does a great drawing and you want to make it into their Roman shade in their room, it's just a couple of weeks away.
Woo, woo, that's so fun. I love
Yeah.
that the time between the dream and all our dreams coming true is getting shorter and shorter and
Shorter
shorter
and
all the
shorter.
time.
Yes. So
Yeah.
to some degree, we're not going to minimize that though, because I do a lot of custom work. I'm working on a very big house right now, and a lot of it is going to take some time. We have to have, time in the mix. So not everything is instant. And when it's always worth waiting for, no matter what. And that was the hardest part about COVID and things sitting on the water, was my clients were like, well, Johnny can get me a sofa. And I'm like, yeah, but you don't want that sofa because it's the same price as your sofa and it's not a very good sofa. So now we have less of it. Things are kind of back to normal-ish. And but if you have decided on something, it is worth the wait. These are, design's a big investment all the way around, and every element does matter.
Really nice. I want to just mention that if you're enjoying this conversation, we have an even more in-depth conversation that's on how to make your house feel like a joy-filled home. And I'm just going to put up that address there. If you go there, sign up on the mailing list that's there, you'll get the notification of when the podcast comes out. This particular podcast comes out tomorrow. So definitely check it out, get on the list, and then you'll be able to listen to it or watch it tomorrow on it's also on YouTube, and you get all the notifications. So super. So you're in your office, and one
I
of the
am.
things about your office is that I feel like it's so comfortable in that office. And so I'd love to just talk about you also mentioned the sort of COVID era, right? So the COVID era is when we all took our work home and we put things in our house that are we were used to being very uncomfortable, right? We were
Yeah.
used to being in a cubicle or whatever, and now we're in this place.
I'm
How do we do some of that? How do
I'm
we
so
bring
glad you
that
brought this
in?
up. This is literally what I was thinking about. I was thinking like, well, your office is kind of your home, because actually behind me is like a full on kitchen. Because wherever I go, I like to be able to make food. Not that I start from scratch here, but we can heat things. We can eat whatever we want to eat here, because design is a creative process, and sometimes you're just in it and you just don't want to stop. You don't want to go somewhere else. And so this office was specifically designed by myself and my people that work with me. And we wanted the kitchen. We wanted, of course, a pretty space for people. We have the black is a blackboard, and there's white boards around it, and we draw on the walls sometimes. And it's a fun place, and it's a very there's tons of light, because the ceilings are 13 foot tall, and there's windows all the way up from about 3 foot up, all the way up. And so it's specifically designed to be comfortable and beautiful and inviting for others, and still completely functional. There's tons of cabinets, because we have tons of samples still. I enjoy samples. Like, you can have the everyday samples you could just get in a minute. But if you're working with a lot of custom things or odd things, you want to collect the things that you're going to use maybe someday in a job. And we have quite a collection of items that can be used when we're doing custom work. So
I
we
love that you bring
specifically,
up the physical, because we're so virtual that having physical things. Can you talk a little bit about how that changes things?
oh yeah, like I specifically made this space to design in. It's got the right light. It's got the right feeling. It's got enough. To be a designer, you have to be able to empty yourself out, but keep your own important design knowledge and uh, energy. The part that you can't quantify. It has to stay solid. and then you empty yourself out so that you can put your clients in. And this space is designed for that. It's designed to be neutral enough, yet custom enough. And when we open these doors and take out stuff, the energy all changes with whatever project that we're doing. And it leaves a lot of space for being creative. And that's I just started writing a book with the Hay House people, and I've been really thinking about, what do you need to write a book? It's a bit different than what you need to design a space. A lot of mine is walking. I have a round table, and it's wood because it's very grounding. And I walk around the table and I have a whole process. And what do you need when you're a writer to sit down and write, to be more disciplined at it? I've always maybe I do have a blog and stuff like that, but just a whole other process, kind of a deeper process. And what do you need for that? So yes. And then the other thing I wanted to say before I leave office is, I thought everybody's office is really on their telephone. So, so it gets a bit confusing. If sometimes you're anywhere, you have to be like in your office brain. And then other times you want to be, more serious, go deeper, really take that, just be in that one thing only. For custom design, you have to find the space. You have to empty yourself out and find the space for that one thing. Or maybe, I think for a lot of things that you want to do on a very high level, you have to really find a way to focus on that. And so for that, I think a 3-dimensional environment that you design to do that in makes it just light years easier.
Yeah, you bring up a great point about mobility and how so for me, there's a whole aura conversation around that, right? So there's a whole, what are we doing with our excess energy, our energy that's around us, not that it's excess. And when we're out in the world and we're, about to go on the roller coaster with little Johnny, and we're like, oh, I just got to make this one deal. It's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Maybe.
Necessity sometimes.
Relationships, right? Right, exactly. It's the difference between not spending time with your children and things like that. But that what that is a splitting of energy. And when we agree to communicate with people, so there was a study where they studied what happened with our brains when we spoke to one another, whether we could see each other or not, like on the telephones, they did it. And when we speak to each other, our brains waves start to synchronize. So when we pick up our phone and we go, I'm just going to take this one work call, we're doing something really different. And when we go and we sit at lunch or dinner with our family, we're doing something really different. We're synchronizing our brains to different people and to different types of activities, right? They require different parts of us to show up emotionally, right? And so that you're pointing out that we should have dedicated spaces for things that are that require momentum, I think is a really important thing to talk about. I have a membership called Joyous on Purpose for exactly that purpose, right? For people who want to really get some momentum on the happiness in their lives. It's a dedicated space for that. It's kind of the country club for happiness. And when you're just trying to put it in your life, when you're like, okay, I'll just be putting that in my life a little bit, then that's a really different thing than having a dedicated space. I love that you're bringing that up.
Yeah, really different. And both are important. I love Dispenza and his work. And so I'm always amazed. We go to these amazing 5-star resorts and we sit in a dark room and we change our state. On the floor sometimes.
On the hard floor.
But you change your state, and you can be in any state. So it's not impossible to have not a great interior to do whatever it is you want to do. But then the second, I literally have the first client I ever had, because the second people learn that, wow, if I could really custom design an interior for myself, and I could put myself in different states and my family and stuff, then, it's a game changer. So both are important, but for me, working in 3 dimension is super exciting it's super exciting to realize like we can set ourselves up to completely win and for everything to be easier and more fun. And I've just been so grateful and in awe of, I literally do have the same clients for 30 years, and it's amazing our trajectory and what has happened to us, because I think because we got set up early to really win and to have the spaces at home. Mostly I worked in their homes. Some of them I had the honor to do their offices. And, it's just, it's a great choice.
Thank you so much for sharing all of that. Tell us about your how to get in touch with you.
I think the easiest way is the website, interioredge.com. On there are all the little buttons for Facebook and Instagram. And contact me. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions, talk to anybody. And that's all on the website.
Excellent. Well, I will say that I might be slightly biased in your direction because of the whole sisterhood and all. But I will say that the work is amazing. And if you get into some of those pictures that you'll see there, the work is stunning. And one of the things that I find that's really different between what I see of Joanne's work and what I see of other people's interior design work is always the scope, the ability to do what is true for the client. And that is, it is this custom work that we're talking about, whether we're talking about the emotional state or the physical state. So I love that.
Well, that's the joy. That's the joy of life, is to know each other and to love each other and to support each other. And that's the camaraderie that, I've been lucky enough to have with clients and with you.
Super.
So thank you so
Super.
much.
My pleasure. Thank you. Also, I want to remind everybody that they should go to roadmaptomorejoy.com, take the quiz, find out where you are. So in the same way that we've been talking about interiors, I have conceptualized for you a map where you can really literally think of your emotions in terms of what would they be like if they were all towns, right? And where am I? Am I just somewhere between? Because when we think about emotions, a lot of times we think of them in a static state. So we think anger is yelling, or frustration is irritation, where we get that in our shoulders and our back or whatever. And we think of it in a static state. But when you go through this process, you'll be able to see how all of your emotions tie together in a very specific way, and also how they're all the ones that you're in most of the time, they're in that same little neighborhood. So, and how can you go from there to something that is better than what you've got and is what you want? So feel free to do that, roadmaptomorejoy.com. Joanne, it has been such a pleasure. Thank you so much.
To all. Bye to all. Thank you.
Bye.